Right, here we go. We're going to have a look at Oracle. We've got Oracle in the shape of VirtualBox and GNS3. Just going to go through the process of upgrading these. And to that end, I need a few files. I've got type VNC, which I've put in so I can actually see this thing over the net. I've got VirtualBox 5.1.22 and its extensions. Extension pack 5.1.22, which matches, and then GNS3 is 1.5.3, which we'll use a little bit later. So the first of those files, and I had to use this file once to get around a networky problem. So where it lost all the network interface cards due to a bad issue with a driver on another program, and I reran the program and it was up and dandy. Now first of all, I'm just going to remove this because it's already here. I've already put this on, as I said, to overcome a problem. Let's just see if they can close things down. And eventually we'll get there once that's gone. Okay, so let's go through the process of bringing that one back alive again. So open up and next, and pretty much next. Nothing much to change there. Next, and the warning on the network interface is momentarily going down. That's fine. Even when I've done this remotely, it's been fine. So we carry on, and next. Wait for the warning. There we go, and away it goes. So it looks a bit drastic. Looked like it got rid of it altogether. I can still see the icon down here. Look, at the bottom. In fact, I'm just going to unpin that from there. We'll see it floating up nicely here. There it is. And then pin that back to the taskbar. And just make sure that any icony issues don't appear. You end up with a blank sort of piece of paper, so to speak, as your icon. So it's still firing away. You might, throughout that, actually get some warnings to say, would you do trust Oracle? And I always trust that source, so that's why I didn't get them this time, because it's new about that. So we'll finish that, and we'll bring up the extension pack. So double click on extension pack. So here we've got a situation where it was 5.1.22, even I got rid of the VirtualBox, but the extension pack was already there, because I'll reinstall that. Same sort of thing, scroll down to the bottom, agree to that, yes to that, and that's pretty much the same you should see on a normal install. So that's bringing that in. And the thing I hadn't progressed forward was the thing we're going to talk about next, so that's okay. If we were to have a look and fire up, say, well, I've got Linux in the shape of Ubuntu, Linux in the shape of Ubuntu. This one's got a graphical display, this one hasn't, so it's textual command line. And we've got XP, so we'll start off with XP, which is the simpler of the beasts, he says, hopefully. And we'll see that firing up. Now under devices is the option here to insert the guest edition CD. So we've got the VirtualBox and its extensions in place, so that should be available to us. Now I'm just going to machine, so this is VM management, and I can see here that it's actually got a guest editions of 4.3.4 sitting in there, and I don't want that. I want it up to 5.1.22. So across the devices, insert the guest edition CD. Bubble out the way. Next on that. Next on that. Nothing really here to select, because there's anything experimental I don't bother with, because you know what happens when it's experimental. There goes doodah. So we can see here as it's actually going through the install. Here we go. So there's 3 of these. 1, 2, 3. Do we want to reboot? Well, the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to bring up my computer. You can see that in the virtual CD-ROM, it's got the guest editions. I'm going to eject that. It just stops any boot time stuff in future, and finish by doing a reboot. So each one just goes through a reboot, and then we'll be able to see that the guest editions is of the correct version. Whilst it's engaging in a reboot, I'm going to fire up Ubuntu, just normal Ubuntu, so we can see what the difference is there. We'll leave that going on in the background. As we can see that XP has come up. So again, under XP, if we go into machine and look at the session information, we can now see that indeed 5.1.22. So the guest editions are correct. So we can just simply turn that machine off, shut it down. And that will be as good as done. Now we can see Ubuntu burning up there, coming up. I'm going to bring Ubuntu 14 up at the same time, so run these up in parallel. Bring him down onto the screen. He seems to have popped off somewhere. Here he comes. So see these two running in parallel here. So Ubuntu 14 was quicker because of course it's a command line interface. So I'm just going to log on. I've been building some OpenStack machines, so just going on to the auspices of this. I'm just going to elevate so that I can run these commands. Now, if you run lsblk, then you can actually see the devices in a nice neat way. You can see the bottom one of those devices is in fact a ROM. That's the CD-ROM. So that's the device that I need to mount. I'm actually going to mount it. If we have a look, if we go into the root directory, we can see that we've got a media, and then if we go under media, we can see we've got a CD-ROM. If we go into the CD-ROM, there's nothing there. Well, there's no media. Good. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to mount the dev, which is SR0, onto media and CD-ROM. So what we can see here is I've spelt that incorrectly, so we'll do that properly this time. Even more correctly this time. Nope. So there's no media found at /dev/SR0. And that's because I haven't inserted it. So I need to insert the CD. And then if I run the command again, it comes up as read-only. I can see what's in here by moving into CD-ROM. And there we have it. So if we run the file, vbox Linux, and that'll run that now, and done. So I'm going to shut down this machine. Oops, -H now. I've done that at the elevated level, of course. So that will shut down, and then we'll be able to have a look. In fact, I could reboot that one, or see that come back up with the latest and greatest. I'm just going onto the Ubuntu machine now. This is on with the graphical interface. And I need to do the same sort of thing here. So if I bring that into focus, and under devices, insert that CD. If I look, you'll see it comes up, so we can run that. Usually ask for authentication again, so just put the password in. Away it goes. Y for yes. And that will actually go through the install now, bringing up the appropriate additions. So I'm just going to pull up the other one again. So it's powered off, remember, because we just powered that one off. It won't take very long to bring that one up. Just move them out of the way for the time being. Just watch this as it goes through the stages. So removing the existing VirtualBox. This is the guest editions. And then installing the additional module, so bringing that one back online. As a result of having guest editions, what you'll find then is if you had a sort of a graphical display which is reduced in size, you'd be able to get to the full size graphics. You'd also be able to use the clipboard, so you'd be able to move things to and from your VMs. using the shared clipboards. You have to make it bidirectional, so that'll be settings that we see up here. So press return to close that window. If we have a look up here, we've got shared clipboard. We can make that bidirectional. We can also open up shared folders, so we can add a shared folder to this, and we can mount that shared folder. Just go into your local machine. If I go onto my C drive, and what we can see down here, what have we got? There's nothing seemingly down there, so what we could do is create a new folder, and we can make that our vbox_share, and let's share that. So select that folder. Okay, so that will be the folder now that we're sharing to and from. And then if we want to see that, if we look at the file manager, in fact we'll need to mount that first, so we'll see that on the reboot, in fact, a little bit later. So in fact we'll leave that because we need to do a reboot anyway. If we have a look under session information, we can see we've got our new guest editions level, so that's fine for there. Let's come back to that in a moment. I'm going to shut that down for now, out of the way, because that's done. Off he goes, off he trots. Right, remember I had one in the background, and we'll see how well he's done. He's up and running, so in fact I don't need to go into him per se. Just drag him into screen, and if we look under the session information, we can see here the guest editions are recorded as 500. That's assuming, of course, that it's had a bit of a nasty. So let's have a look, because the place to go and have a look is in the opt directory, and we can see there that the guest editions is actually 5.1.22. Okay, so using the right control key to get your mouse out of the VM, and then again having a look, see if anything's changed up here. It hasn't, but as we saw, that is the actual guest editions that's loaded. Right, that's the point I wanted to make. So if I shut down and away that goes. So this is the necessary steps that are required in order to bring that VirtualBox into play. We'd have to repeat that for all of the other VMs that we've got here. Now, GNS3. I currently have a version of GNS3, so I recommend that to make sure that things load correctly is you go and find that GNS3 and you remove it and start it as though it's like a fresh install. So that's gone, and then we'll put the new one in. It's a bit fiddly. There's a few things we need to do, and one of the things you're going to absolutely need to do is pay attention here. Don't install stuff that you don't need to install, such as Wireshark and WinPCAP. Sometimes it doesn't like it, and I don't want the SolarWinds tools here as yet, but I do need this new Dynamips, which is the latest and greatest. It gives me how to gel with a lot of things, and at this level, and then there was a few levels before, in fact, but we can actually support multicasting. So that's the thing that was flummoxing me a while back, was the ability to support things like multicasting properly, without the routers sort of seeing the first few packets, filling their buffers, and then effectively getting themselves into an internal loop. And it was a Dynamips issue, which was resolved. It was resolved some time back, but it's certainly covered in this release, which is more than enough. I don't want those. I don't want to start GNS3 just yet because it goes off to the web. Don't want that. Okay, but what I am interested in here is GNS3 itself. If I go into its properties, one thing you need to ensure that it does through advanced is run as administrator. So running an administrator, well, I want to apply that and OK that. And this is what I will then effectively, if I can pin that to the taskbar properly, we can see our little gecko. So this time we're actually asked if we want to go ahead. So yes, is the prompt. And I want to do this local server. I've not even tried this as well. I have actually, but not very successfully. So I stick with local server because I want to. I'll put my own stuff in. I'll do that in just a moment. So finish there. Right, so this is where it drops you through to anyway. So this is where I need to bring in things like my iOS. So if I have a look and I look to see where my iOS is, then I've probably got some images already. But what I need is I need a folder which is called iOS, because that's where this looks. Essentially, I'm going to be using, in fact, I'm going to be using that one, and that one for sure. And I don't think I'm using that one. So take those and put those in. Okay, that gives me one of each to play with, at least to start off with. So I'll just minimize that out of the way. And we'll come down the list and we'll look at Dynamips and iOS for routers. We'll do new. See, these are the ones I put into that bin. See, so I've got the 3 to play with. So I'll take the first of these, which is an old image. And one thing I like to do is I like to call them in sort of sync with the images that I've got. So just do a little cheat. And in fact, fingers don't cause any typo problems. So that's the first slot. But then I've got my Wix 2 T's and 2 T's, which is what I want. So that'll be the base lines. Don't generate an idle PC value for this, because it won't want to anyway. So it won't be able to do it for anything sort of Cisco 2600 and the like. So that's that one done. Let's do another new. This time we're going to bring in the 3725. It's that image we're revealing, so we'll call it that. And you can go back and change some of these things a little bit later, but again, I want to WIC 2 T's in here. This time I do want to do the idle PC value and let it calculate away. There's a little bit of time associated with this. So we'll come back when. Okay, so that's done. So we're in on there with an idle value. So okay to that. Pops down and finish that. Let's put the last one of those 3 in, which is the 7200 image, which is that one. That makes more sense when you see the larger images. Right, pay attention, 7200, we went to Wix before. We need 2 FEs for this one, or more, depending on what you've done within your previous models. And we'll also calculate an idle value. So we'll let that do that as well. Okay, that's done, and then finish that. So that's 3 iOSs in. There's other bits and pieces we can do, but I'm particularly interested in bringing some VirtualBox virtual images in. So I'm going to bring a new one in. It goes off and gets the list, which is a bit more painful, because in older versions you would do the list once and then you'd be able to select them from that list. This does it every single time you do this. So I could bring the PC1, PC2s in. They're quite quick. The host 1, the host 2s. And if you remember, we did a little bit of work on Ubuntu, that one, Ubuntu 14 and one of the XPs. So if you remember, that's the sort of 3 that we were playing around with down here, yeah, where we put those in. So we can bring any one of those in, just for the purpose of this example. Bring the Ubuntu in and finish. I go straight to edit, straight to network, bring the interfaces up to 2, change that from the Intel to the PCNet Fast 3, and allow GNS3 to use any. Seems to stop any networky issues. It's just sort of a new. It's usually on the next one on the list, dump, next one on the list, dump, next one on the list, dump. But this goes away and finds them all again. And then when it comes back, we pick out the list. Remember, it's one of the three, so back to Ubuntu 14 this time. So finish. So then it's straight into edit, straight into network, straight up to interfaces, straight down to and allow. And you just keep doing that. So the next new will be the XP machine, of course, after we've waited. Right, here's the list. Down to XP, finish on there, edit on there, up to networks, increase the number of network devices, down to that, into there, and then allow, and away you go. Okay, so that's the sort of exercise stages that you'll go through. Now, the next thing that you'll need to do is, let's apply and OK all of that. Next thing you'll need to do is sort of go into the sort of project sphere and start working on projects. Let that come through. Okay, so what we could do is we can go and open a project. So thinking about where they are. So here we are, we're in GNS3, we're in projects. I've also created some projects already in the correct version on another machine, so I'll be using those. But they started off life as this, which was on a much older version, 0.85 I think it was, for these. This is a fairly low level one, as indeed is this. If I bring up this Tagar one that I've got here, so if I open that, you'll notice there's nothing listed here. That's because it's against GNS3, the new format, whereas these were recorded in the old net format. So if I open this, what it's going to do is it's going to do its damnedest to convert based on the images that I've got, VMs, and the images that I've got. So my project has been converted. So it's converted the project file and it's given it into this new directory here. And this is where interfaces might be astray. They might, you're good, you know, you'll see them whether or not they actually appear here, depending on what it thinks it's got access to. So you can see here that the Tagar box in this case lacked sort of interfaces by the looks of it, although they seem to be fine in terms of adapters. But let's have a look and apply that. See what we've got now. So can we connect that box in? Yes, we can. So picking out the correct interfaces is going to be key. So that'll depend upon the internal configuration, and then pull those in together. And the same is true on the other side. Oops, I'm pressing the wrong thing for a moment there. Pick a switch port, one of the red ones, of course. Here it comes. There's a bit of a slow moment. And that will effectively now mean I can fire that up and away we go. Of course, I could save the project in its down state. I can go and hit the green, off we go. But I was also interested in opening projects, so let's go and open a project that already exists. Let's take one of the 1.5.3 variants. I think I've done enough this one to work. Let's have a look. It's all about images really. This is just a router based one, there's no VMs in this one. Let's get rid of the console and it gives me back the screen. Does seem to spend an awful long time doing these sorts of things. And here it comes back in. So if I bring myself into the middle of the screen, yeah, when he's done, let's just finish it off, is he? He's done. And get rid of my connector and just scroll out. You can see the component parts. If I get rid of the bottom screen, you can see it a bit more clearly. There they are and running. Now, because I've done the idle PC value, when I hit the old green arrow, then the CPU here on the right hand side should go up, but hopefully not too high. Otherwise the idle value is wrong and we'll need to recalculate that. There's also the option, it looks a bit, you never want it to go to 100%. There's also the option to do auto idle, which I've steered clear of, and stuck with the idea of generating idle PC values, which it seems to be good. So if we log on to one of those consoles and do a show IP route, we should start to see some routing coming in, sort of OSPF style. And then once BGP is up and running, we should see some BGP. Let's do an IP BGP. Yep, there's definitely some stuff coming in. So IP routes. There's nothing distant as yet, so we're waiting for that to come in. Remember, it takes 60 seconds or more. There we go, the adjacency's up. IP route, there we go, got some Bs. So we've definitely got some BGP as well. Good. So that's all good and dandy. So that's taking files that are built within the right version, but built on a different machine, and then importing them directly into here, as long as you bring the whole folder across, the whole project folder across from the old machine to the new, matching the versions. So a little bit more work to do to tidy up. So I need to go back and look at the rest of the VMs, because I need to go back through the rest that I haven't done yet and upgrade their guest editions. I then need to come back and I need to go back into preferences. I need to look at bringing those VMs in then and adding them to the list and giving them the right number of interfaces, 2, remember, every time for GNS3. And then for the purposes of iOS, I need to come in and put the rest of the iOS bits in that I need. I need about another 3 versions of iOS, just purely because of the different projects that I've built over time. Probably another 4th one, because I'd like to put a 3660 in there as well. Which I haven't got. It's just another variant each for 2600, 3725, 7200, and another 3660 would be a good bet for projects going forward. So there we go, that's the basic steps required. Of course, then you can go and tidy things up as far as your projects are concerned. So go back to GNS3 and projects. You know, it's got untold projects in here, and I can go and get rid of some of these projects and just simplify those around my 1.5.3 projects going forward.